Moving forward.
Right now, a future president could be running as a local candidate on your ballot. This person is vying to represent you, your family, and your community. Do you know what they are and what they stand for? Vote411.org is your tool for accurate and unbiased, up-to-the-minute election information on the candidates running in local races. Just enter your address to get started. Your vote is your power, the power to decide who represents you in 2022 and beyond. Get online, get the facts, and make your voice heard on Election Day.
Moving forward.
Aloha, it's Holeka.
Aloha.
How's it, Kawika?
Pretty good. I accidentally called your office number first because I already had that one on file.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and then she's like, "Oh, you got the wrong one." And then we had this whole confusion of who's calling because Verizon never update my caller ID, so it says Milton Matsuda when I call. So.
Oh my. Okay.
Everybody think it's one crank call. I got to get that fixed with Verizon. So how are you?
Jokes. I'm good. We could schedule this. Thank you for making the adjustment on the time.
Well, mahalo for having the time. Even in your busy schedule, a lot of people, it's hard for them to make time. So I'm glad that you could. The listeners appreciate it. So let's get started because I know you're on a bit of a time crunch yourself. So
okay, jokes.
So first things first, please let everybody know who you are, what office you're running for, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, well, my name is Holeka Inaba. I am the council member for District 8, North Kona on the Hawaii County Council. And I'm in my first term right now, so I'm running for re-election for another 2-year term here on the council. Born and raised here in Kona. My father's side comes from Holualoa, the Inabas, and the Kona Hotel, and my mom has been a long-time resident of Kona as well. I'm starting Kona's hometown airline, Mokulele Airlines, right out of here in Kona. So kind of very well connected here and love this place, and I'm honored to be able to serve the community and all of the wonderful people of this district.
Fantastic. So before we talk about your personal policies and campaigning, let's talk about what that position does so we can educate our listeners at home. So what do you do? So that way people who don't know what they're voting for or may not know for the first time, because we got lots of kid voters out there too. So just let them know what you do or that position does.
Okay, so basically as a council member, you represent one of 9 districts on Hawaii Island. And as a council together, you are the legislative branch of the county government, the other branch being the executive branch, which falls under the mayor's authority. So all of those departments like Parks and Rec and Public Works and Planning all fall under the mayor's purview. But we as council members are the policymakers, so we are the ones who can create bills, introduce bills to either create new laws or amend current laws that are in our county code. And our code, we can create laws as long as they either are in line or kind of further define what's in the state law, but there's nothing at the county level that we do that can disagree or supersede state level law. So that's the primary job as a council member, is creating legislation and really being the representative for your community. So whether it's from the many meetings, like the potholes that we need to get fixed, a lot of times as council members, we're the ones who get those calls and, transfer that information over to departments like Public Works who would address those issues. But we're kind of like the frontline ears, I guess, for the community, and making sure that all of those concerns and issues get properly carried over to the administration, who's actually in charge of addressing those issues.
Right on. So, now that we have that established, what can we know about you, your roots, everything before you became a council member, how that contributes to you as a member of the community, your awareness and your activity in it before taking office?
Sure. So, like I shared a little earlier, my family is from Kona. I've lived in Kona my entire life, except for those years I went away for school to California. But growing up here, attending Kunana Leo o Kona and Kekula o Evanui Kaimalino really grounded me in the perspective of Ike Hawaii and, a Hawaiian perspective on how and why we should do things. I then graduated from Kamehameha Schools, Kapalama, and went to Chapman University, where I got my degree in communication and education, and always figured I would probably get a job in education. And a lot of my family on the Inaba side, they have many of them are educators. But I came home working for my mom and also substitute teaching and part-time teaching at our Hawaiian immersion school, Evanui Kaimalino here in Kona, and really got into this current role as a council member after being asked by some family members, knowing that my predecessor in this role, Auntie Karen Eoff, was terming out, and really had the support, I would say, from her and from others in the community to go and pursue this and to be a representative of our community. So that's kind of how I got here, and a lot of those lessons in communication studies, I would say, are extremely important in helping me to be most effective, whether it be in talking with our constituents or even trying to advocate and promote some of the legislation that my office brings forward. So all in all, it's always about making sure that the bills that we discuss and the bills that we vote on are truly in the best interest of everyone, not just a specific group of people, and understanding and really evaluating whether or not there might be any negative unintended consequences as a result of passing legislation. So it really is a job of service. I think oftentimes people think it's a position of power, but it really is a position of service to be on the council and serving the community.
I like to hear that. That's something that not enough voters hear from their politicians, is what the power dynamic is between the public. And I think that confusion causes a lot of hangups in how things get done. I was actually talking about that this morning on Instagram before our interview. And so, sorry, I just lost the thought there.
No worries.
Anyways, but talking about that power dynamic, I really think that servant leadership is something that needs to be brought up more often in reference to politics, because I think not many people are too aware of how you work for them because they voted for you, that you're accountable to them. That's what, the give and take of the constituency.
100%. And I would want to add that, everyone says you have to vote, you have to vote. I can't emphasize enough position. You really do need to vote. And, when you elect good people, then hopefully you don't have to worry about testifying on significant projects or issues because you know that the person you elected is going to do the right thing.
Exactly.
But when we don't vote, that's when we run into problems. Yeah, because you don't know who's representing your voice and your interest, and by that point, perhaps even if you testify, sometimes those in office choose not to do what you want or what is right for the community. So it really is important to do your research on those who are running for office. Reach out if you have questions, especially if it's on a specific issue that's really important to you. And those who are good and those who are understanding and who will plan to serve the community will get in touch with you, will respond to your texts or your calls to make sure that you're informed and they share their perspective. And that's what you want from someone in office, someone who's going to be responsive, who's going to get back to you. And oftentimes I think that's what maybe frustrates the public is that we don't maybe get responses from or in a timely manner from our public officials. So, look for that even in the election season. How responsive are people? And that might be an indicator of how responsive they'll be if they are able to get the position via the election.
Right on. So enough about civic engagement for now, because we'll have plenty to talk about that in the future. But what is probably your current biggest topic as a council member out there?
One of the priorities for my office is affordable housing, and it's talked about so often. I feel like sometimes as the public, it's kind of like there's all this talk, but how come it's not getting better? And for myself, I've been fortunate to work in partnership with Councilmember Heather Kimball out from Hamakua side, and both of us being in our first term really put together two bills right now. One to allocate 1% of our county real property tax every year into our housing revolving fund, and that really gives the Office of Housing some money, about $4 million a year, to help develop affordable housing. And we partnered that with a bill that would increase the uses of that fund. So right now there's only two allowable uses. One is development of affordable housing, the other being the buyback option. So adding 7 more potential uses to that fund. So we're really putting the county's money where the county's mouth is, because both the administration and the council is always talking about affordable housing, but here really putting it into action. And we have some other priorities as well. Environmentally, working with another council member, Maui County had recently passed a sunscreen bill banning all non-mineral sunscreen, and it's something that was very straightforward. So Maui County, I do want to say that, they're very progressive and get a lot done. And every once in a while, we take a look at what things have been passed in that county that we might also consider implementing here. So there's a lot of stuff, but I would say primarily it would be affordable housing, and there are some other bills we have coming forth as well in that area to hopefully see the increased production of affordable housing and perhaps even rehabilitation of existing units as well.
Dig it. So in your candidacy for re-election, what is your near and dear subject to you beyond housing?
Housing is number one. Number two is making sure that we are properly supporting our Parks and Recs department and our first responders. On the Parks and Rec side, they've taken cuts, to maintenance budgets over the years. So with this council, hopefully allowing for return of some of those funds to those departments. And then on the first responder side, I would also say that this council is very supportive there by making sure that we just audited our fire department and coming up with a plan that allows for our communities to be safe and to ensure that those services are provided in a timely and professional manner. I have my own family members in the fire department, and part of it is they want to make sure that they are safe, but more importantly, that they're able, as a result of being safe and having the adequate resources, are able to carry out their kuleana to serve our community. So two of the more important areas for me, again, and I sit as the chair of the Parks and Recreation and Public Safety Committee on our council. But those are kind of the two major areas. There's a lot of bills we're working on right now that I could talk about, but those maybe being the three main areas in our county.
Well, we have just a little bit more time left here. Could you inform everyone how to get in contact with you, your preferred methods of contact, how to reach out to you on social media, how to support your campaign, follow you, donate, etc.?
Sure. So, perhaps offer my council member role. That's how, if anyone's listening, you want to get in touch regarding current county issues or questions, please reach out. 808-323-4280 is our office line, or my county email is Holeka, HOLEKA .inaba, @hawaiicounty.gov. And you'll hear back from us real soon when you reach out. And then on the campaign side, you can visit voteinaba.com. And there you will be able to see some of the platform issues, some of the accomplishments I've done over my first term. And there is an opportunity to provide a donation via a donation button. Donations can also be received via check or cash, checks written out to friends of Holeka Inaba and mailed to P.O. Box 830, Holualoa, Hawaii 96725. But yes, really grateful for this opportunity to share, Kawika, about the role we play as council members and as servants of the public. I think it's always important for the public to remember that while sometimes we're considered honorable council members or anything like that, it's really the honor comes in service. And if you have questions, you have concerns, reach out to us, because we serve at the pleasure of the public. No one is our boss except for the public. So please reach out, and we always try and kokua as best as we can to address any issues that come up.
Righteous. Well, mahalo for coming on today. Before you go, I'd like to ask you one last thing. Can we catch up and talk story again in about a month or so? See how everything's going, see how Big Island's doing, and see how your campaign's coming along?
Definitely.
Awesome, bro. All right. Well, you take care. I know you got a busy day. We'll talk at you later, brother. Mahalo.
All right. Mahalo, Kawika. Have a good rest of the week. Aloha to you all.
Aloha. Rabbit Holes is a Manava Cow production. This episode was produced by Kawika Hoke and Sarah Rodriguez. Make sure to subscribe and follow on your favorite podcast platforms to add our weekly episodes to your queue.